dearly departed heroes. It is said that an aircraft investigation is taking a mess and converting it into a message, which is what we ended up doing. It's my humble duty now to take you through the presentation, which reflects the report that was presented yesterday. On Wednesday, 6th August 2025, the Z9EH tail number Golf Hotel Foxtrot 631 helicopter operating a scheduled flight from Accra to Obuasi was involved in a crash at Dampier Forest Reserve of Anochi Crow, Brofiejo, in the Adansi Ekruform district, Ashanti region. All 3 crew and 5 passengers on board died. The President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, directed the Acting Minister of Defense to constitute an accident investigation board. The Ministry of Defense, on the 25th of August 2025, announced through a press release the establishment of the board mandated to inquire into the causes and circumstances leading to the Z9 Echo Hotel helicopter accident. This investigation has been conducted in accordance with the Ghana Air Force flying orders, the Ghana Air Force Air Staff instructions, Annex 13 of the International Civil Aviation Organization's Convention on International Civil Aviation. Generally, investigations under these regulations are conducted to determine circumstances leading to the accident and prevention of future accidents and incidents. The final report, which was presented, came in a format which had 4 parts. Part 1, factual information. Part 2, analysis of the factual information. Part 3 were the conclusions, which includes the findings, the causes, and all contributory factors. And Part 4, the safety recommendations. The composition of the board. This is now getting into the methodology of the investigation. The composition of the board had national security, Ghana Armed Forces personnel from the Aircraft Accident and Incident Investigation and Prevention Bureau, Ghana, National Intelligence Bureau, and we had some staff from the US Air Force also with us. For the factual information evidence collection, we immediately had, on the 26th of August, a briefing by the preliminary investigation team, PIT as it's called. Now, the preliminary investigation team were sent out on the same day of the accident by the Air Force. Their task was to go to the accident site, secure the site, try to protect and make sure that all perishable evidence was secure. Now, when we speak of perishable evidence, we mean things like information, things like memories, because people forget after a short time. They also have the duty of making sure that in as much as possible, they can capture and do a wreckage diagram of all the parts and so on that were around the crash site, because all these help in deducing what actually caused the accident. So we had a briefing by the pit team, and they handed over the pit report. The flight recorder, made up of the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, which is typically called the black box, and some personal effects of the passengers. The team then started.
Let's say now first time I subscribe to the channel. Nothing. We have a post notification bell. No send me any time. You better drop your latest video. Somebody to me account. Nothing. We are watching video. No, I'm a fool so answer empty me account now. Let's delve into matters.
The picture on the left shows the morning weather and shows you the visibility, gives you some idea of the visibility on the day. The picture on the right is taken from the same place, looking at the same area, and you can clearly see that you can make out the ridges in the terrain over there. And it's noteworthy that on the day of the flight, this visibility you are seeing that I'm telling you, you can't even see that as you can see. On the day, the visibility was much worse. From eyewitness accounts, the visibility was down to close to 200 meters at some point. This also shows a picture of actual weather from a passenger who was on board the aircraft, just to give you an idea. The weather in the southern Ghana was poor on the day, which delayed departure for about an hour. In Accra, conditions were misty, with visibility of about 5 to 7 kilometers and very low clouds starting at only 700 to 1100 feet above the ground. While the situation improved slightly later in the morning, the early hours were dominated by haze and overcast skies. In Kumasi, the weather was worse, with drizzle reducing visibility to around 4 kilometers and heavy low clouds sitting just 600 to 900 feet above the ground. Only Accra and Kumasi Aerodrome were available. Only Accra and Kumasi Aerodrome weather were available. There was no formal information on the weather available to the pilots along the flight route. Witnesses reported poor visibility due to fog and rain at Brofo Yedru and its environs. Environmental commissions in the Dampier Forest Reserve and its rugged terrain of hills, mountains, created conditions such that over such rugged terrain, you can have turbulence, downdraft, and other phenomena. Now, to look at this is what we're talking about. This is a known aviation phenomena when you have such rugged territory. And what ends up happening is turbulent wind currents occur usually around ridgelines, mountains, and hills, and can generate sink rates in excess of 1,000 feet a minute in moderate wind conditions. These sink conditions can often exist well above the barrier that induces the eddies. We assessed the aircraft to see if it was fit for purpose. The helicopter entered the Ghana Air Force Service in May 2015, having been manufactured in 2012, and it reached its 10-year service threshold on 18th May 2025. Aircrafts have periodic checks to make sure that they're fit for service. The Air Force has 25-hour checks, 50-hour checks, and 100-hour checks. The 10-year check for the helicopter is what was mandated for this helicopter. Now, as is usual, an operator, in this case Ghana Air Force, requested from the manufacturer an extension. And it's normal, happens in civil flying, happens with any type of flying. The manufacturer gave a 90-day extension to 18th August 2025, and basically the helicopter met all the basic safety requirements. That notwithstanding, it sort of clashed, it sort of met a 100-hour check, so the Air Force also did a 100-hour check on the helicopter before the flight. The aircraft on the day, the aircraft on the day was declared serviceable and duly signed off by both the engineers and the captain. The flight data report indicates that the helicopter was in good working condition. The helicopter, however, did not have some avionic safety enhancements. As I said before, the aircraft was serviceable and airworthy. The additional safety equipment that the helicopter did not have were things like the helicopter terrain awareness system or the enhanced ground proximity warning system, as you may choose, advanced navigation with terrain mapping, an automatic flight control system. And I would say that these safety equipment would have enhanced situational awareness. For instance, it didn't have an autopilot. That's advanced, the automatic flight control system, so that the crew had to manually fly the plane. So it sort of increases workload. Typically, you want to have a plane that has an autopilot. All the civil planes use autopilots, and the workload on the pilots is very low. It gives you the chance to do things and to think easily, and so on and so forth. Despite all this, the aircraft was in a good condition to fly and met all safety requirements. The investigation has recommended strongly for aircraft with these additional safety enhancements to be acquired immediately for the Air Force. To rule out any potential human causes, we also examined the qualifications, experience, and competence of the crew. The captain has a postgraduate certificate in safety and accident investigation from Cranfield University, UK, in 2024. The captain was a qualified FAA, that's the Federal Aviation Administration, commercial and instrument rated pilot from Bristol Academy, Florida, USA, in April 2015, 10 years ago. Within the Ghana Air Force, he was recategorized in March 2025 as a Cat C pilot. That is, a pilot qualified to be a captain on the helicopter, the Z9 helicopter. And he had a green instrument rating. In the Air Force, they have gradings for pilots, categories for pilots from A to D. D being, depends on what you call high and low, D being for the initial, sort of, and then you go all the way to A. It's interesting to note that for quite a while, and as at now in the Air Force, the highest category is Cat C. So the pilot was totally competent to be flying this plane. The co-pilot was also a qualified FAA commercial and instrument rated pilot from Bristol Academy, Florida, and he qualified in April 2023. In December 2024, he was recategorized within the Ghana Air Force as a Category D pilot on helicopter type with a white instrument rating.